Okay, so sorry about that. I ran out of time, so I'm gonna have to put the rest on this video. But so where I left off, he goes over to Marisol's house and he gives her an old statue of Crenshaw, but like she doesn't actually know that that's an old statue of the imaginary friend. She just thought it was cool, and so he gave it to her. So he tells her about having an old imaginary friend, when he was younger, but never says his name and never says that um, he still is seeing Crenshaw. But before Jackson leaves, she names the statue Crenshaw out of nowhere, and Jackson is completely freaked out because he never told her name, so she just picked that name completely out of random. So then he goes home to find out that his family is actually being evicted from their apartment. The landlord gave them the final notice, and they have to leave. So he goes back over to Marisol's house after he finds out that he's being evicted, and for the first time tells her all about his family's money problems and tells her that he is seeing Crenshaw, that he's back, and he doesn't know why he's seeing him. But Marisol actually comforts him and tells him just to enjoy the magic while it lasts and not to be freaked out. Just have a good time. Don't look at the facts for this. Just enjoy it because he doesn't know when he might go away. So Jackson goes back home and decides that he is actually going to run away and just live with Marisol and her family because he doesn't want to live in the minivan again after he found out they're being evicted. So he writes his parents a note telling them that he's leaving. But as soon as he finishes writing the note and is actually about to leave, Robin, his little sister, walks in and asks him to sleep with him because she is scared because nothing's in her room and she just wants to be with her big brother. So Jackson decides to stay with her just one more night. So he just crumbles up the letter and doesn't give it to his parents. But when he wakes up, he realizes that his parents have found the note and are sitting in his room crying. So they tell him the truth about all of their money problems and they apologize for putting him and his sister through everything that they've gone through. His parents tell him that his dad has actually found a part-time job and they have found a new place to live. And his parents promise to be open and honest with him from now on about everything and not to treat him like such a child anymore and not keep him in the dark about what's actually going on. So at the end, they move into the new apartment and Robin confesses to Jackson that the purple jelly beans at the beginning of the story weren't actually from Crenshaw and that she put them in there. They were left over from a birthday party, and she actually just put them in there to try and cheer Jackson up because she knew that he was really sad. So then Crenshaw actually moves into the new apartment with Jackson, and Jackson just decides to enjoy the magic of Crenshaw while it lasts. So yeah, I mean it was a pretty happy ending there. So, a little evaluation of the author. I did enjoy her writing style. I thought she made it really easy and accessible for kids to read because she did write super short chapters, especially in the one and only Ivan. There might only be like 5 or 6 sentences on a page, and there might be the chapters at most were maybe like 2 pages long. And so I think that really helps break it up for students, and it's not just so long and just like drawn out. And even in Crenshaw, the chapters were not very long at all. And but I think both books had about both books over had over probably 50 chapters, and the one on the island might even had like 100. Um, and another thing is both of her books only require like a third grade reading level, so they're not super challenging books, and so most kids in elementary school would be able to read these. But in both books, there were really heavy topics and themes that might need some further explanation. And the subject matter of the books could be a sensitive issue for some students. And both books had really sad parts in them. So because of that, I definitely like both of her books only require a third grade reading level, but I wouldn't necessarily read these in third grade unless the students were like really mature and can handle that content because and the one and only Ivan, it's really heavy on animal rights, and just some of those things. Like I don't really think third graders would fully understand, without further explanation from a teacher or a parent. Um, and then in Crenshaw, it really could be a sensitive issue for some students, especially if they are maybe possibly going through that themselves if they're hungry, and so that would be a little tougher. Um, but for example, the heartbreaking parts, like in the one and only Ivan, when Stella dies because she isn't properly taken care of, like that is just absolutely heartbreaking. I was almost in tears myself. And then in Crenshaw, it is really hard to read about Jackson and his sister going hungry and being homeless for 14 weeks. They talk about that a lot, and not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but that was just, even for me, as a student in college, that was pretty tough. Um, and because of this, I would recommend these books to more upper elementary school kids, like I said, or kids that were mature enough to handle that content. Because Applegate really does like to write about tough topics. I've seen some of her other books, and they all have some type of like bigger overall meaning or hidden message, hidden theme. So if they're not prepared for that, they wouldn't fully understand the entire story. And I mean, I like that. I think kids need to be aware of these things, but just it needs to be appropriate, and they need to be made aware of this at the right age. So, evaluation of the books. Overall, I really enjoyed the one and only Ivan. And I fell in love with these characters, and I really think that students would fall in love with them as well. And this book and the themes of identity, animal rights, friendship, freedom, and art could really provide some meaningful discussions within the classroom. I think you could really get kids talking about things um, that are deeper than just some vague like literature and ELA standards. And I think this book could actually be used like maybe in a unit to teach a lot of ELA and even some science concepts. I think that could be worked in there, and I would highly recommend this book for a classroom. I really, really enjoyed it, truly. But after reading Crenshaw, I really did enjoy that storyline, but I think it's a little too heavy for young students. And the majority of the book was about Jackson's struggles to find enough food and worrying about having a home. I don't think it had a good overall meaning, about family and friendships and honesty and money, and that, money isn't everything, and that it's more about, family and what you do have and what you don't have. But I don't think it included enough about the imaginary friend and enough about Crenshaw. To be honest, I really only think there had probably like 6 like scenes in the book that included Crenshaw, and I just think it really focused too heavily on Jackson's struggles. I think it might have been a little bit of a lighter read if it had included more about Crenshaw and about how Crenshaw helped him through that. Um, and I just think it focused a little too much on the side issues, which might be really hard for some students to read about. And I think that would make it harder to use in a classroom setting, like as in a unit or something. But overall, I did enjoy the book. I think I favor the one and only Ivan a little bit more. So that's the end, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really do miss seeing all of your faces. So hope to see you soon. Hope you're staying safe. God bless.